Welcome to Seafoam Week 5. This is Reich here, bringing you the game between Colin of the New York Gladios and Pako of the Charleston Gastrodons. Heading into this game, Colin is 3-1, and Pako is our only undefeated coach so far, with a 4-0 record. This match puts together two of the finest coaches in this league, and I am heading into this commentary blind and fully hoping for a great game to come precede us. So, heading into this game, Colin has opted to bring his Pako, Type-Null, Mega Gallade, Drapion, Latios, and Superior. His Superior has the option of running a Z any, and his Drapion has the option of running a C attack. On Pako's side, he opts to bring Tapu Lele, Mega Alakazam, Gliscor, T, Miltank, and Ampharos, and with Ampharos being his Z any user. Heading into this game, we'll do some quick analysis. Pako's main core of his team revolves around this Psychic Terrain combo of Tapu Lele and Mega Zam, which in this league has caused a lot of people trouble so far. Luckily for Colin, he packs one really good check to this combo in his potentially Spit F Drapion, his Dark typing there, and the move Pursuit being allowed will be a key factor in trying to eliminate both Sam and Tapu Lele. Potentially as well, he may be bringing a Spadef, a Violite type Null, which can sponge hits from his Lele, Mega Zam, and his Tornadus T. Tapu Koko in this game looks to be decent here, as long as the Gliscor could either be chipped down or removed. Koko can opt to run HB Ice to do a considerable amount of damage to Gliscor, but depending on its set, may potentially live. We'll see Colin potentially trying to weaken Gliscor down throughout the game to really open his Tapu Koko. With Koko being such a threat, I fully expect this Ampharos to be a bit of a soft check to the Koko, as well as trying to revenge abuse the electric terrain that comes up, particularly as Colin does not opt to bring a ground type to this game. Mega Gallade is an interesting Pokemon this game. Due to speed tier against mons like Tapu Lele, potentially if it's Scarfed, the fast Mega Zam and the Tornadus looks a bit pressured this game. However, if you look against his bulkier mons, such as Gliscor, Miltank, and Ampharos, Gallade could outspeed and do considerable damage to these mons to help weaken them for his other threats in Koko, Latios, and Superior. Looking at Latios and the Superior, Latios again is worried about current speed tiers of a Scarf Lele, a Fast Sam on Tornadus, but if can get him for free and can go for hits Draco Meteors or a Shadow Ball on Tapu Lele, can do a lot of damage to this team. And Superior, as long as you can pressure Tornadus and the faster Zam, also does very well here, with Pako's only grass resist being Tornadus. T as well will look for opportunities to get in here. The speed tier is fantastic in this game outside of the threat that is Tapu Koko. Tapu Koko goes down, Taunty really gets opened up in this game. Overall, I think these teams do look evenly matched. There are defensive mons to counter some of each coach's primary offensive mons, but there are lots of leeway for secondary offensive mons like the Latios, like the Serp, like the Tornadus to really go in here. So with that, I'm going in blind and we'll look at the lead matchup. Potentially here for Colin, I would not be surprised if he opts to lead with the Tapu Koko, potentially looking to either get some damage off or pivoting out on the expected Gliscor. He may also opt to go for potentially Type Null, which can safely go in against most of his mons, or potentially the Latios, which could, depending on its set, do massive damage right at the beginning. On Pako's side, potentially something like Gliscor, I believe, is fairly free here. The Miltank can safely get up rocks as long as it's not in against the Gallade, and even the Torn with its speed tier may potentially U-turn out here, or may switch out to a Gliscor if the Koko lead So for this lead match, I am predicting the Gliscor and the Pako or the Latios, and we will begin the battle. So we start the game. Good luck to both coaches. Colin opts to lead his Titanol, whereas Pako leads his Gliscor. This is a solid lead matchup for both players. Pako here, depending on his set with his Gliscor, may do two things here. He may opt to go for his rocks. His Gliscor is his primary rock setter. However, that role may also be on his Miltank. Gliscor as well may opt to activate Toxic Orb and potentially go for a knockoff to get rid of Titanol's Violite. On Titanol's side, it may want to switch out here to try and gain some momentum. I fully expect Colin might switch out here, potentially fearing a knockoff, maybe into his Serp. And one begins. Gliscor opts to go for a substitute here, and Titanol U-turns out into his Glade. Gliscor's Toxic Orb also activates here. The sub here potentially looks to search two different sets. Potentially this could be a sub-toxic set to stall down mons like Titanol, the Serp, the Latios, the Pako against most of Colin's team. However, it could also just suggest a sub-SD set, which in this matchup with Earthquake and potentially Facade could do a lot of work here. With the Glade currently in, as I said earlier, has trouble against a lot of Pako's offense. However, if Glade opts to pack the Ice Punch, we'll try and look to break sub here. If Gliscor sets up here, this already does look like a dangerous position for Colin to be in. The Glade Mega Revolves, outspeeds, and goes for the triple axle. Hits, and goes the Gliscor through the sub, with triple axles, multiple hits. I personally did forget that Glade was packing the triple axle, and I was expecting an Ice Punch. But the triple axle was the right play there, hitting through the sub and killing the Gliscor. This is great for Colin so far. Tapu Koko has its main check weakened. Only thing that may look to stop it here is the Ampharos. But overall, the game really opens up to Tapu Koko. Glade has done its job already, has removed one of Pako's walls here, and that really opens up the game. Drapion as well also has really opened up with the removal of Gliscor. Now, in Revenge, depending on the sets, the Tornadus might be coming in here, looking to go for a Flying Stab. The Zam also outspeeds and potentially threaten, or even a Scarf Lele could be in here. Any of those three threats I fully anticipate to be coming in. If Lele comes in, I likely anticipate this means it's likely a Scarf variant. The Glade's full switch out, and Titanol tanks a Moonblast very comfortably and gets a special attack drop. There's not much this Tapu Lele can do against Titanol this next turn. I fully anticipate a switch, potentially to the Taunt, the Miltank, or the Ampharos, as the Titanol will likely go for a U-turn, trying to pivot out and gain momentum. Against all the potential options, I anticipate maybe Tornadus, or perhaps even the Ampharos might be his best thing to pivot out into here, but we'll see where Pako goes. Pako does switch into his Ampharos, maybe looking to get a static against the Titanol. He does indeed activate it as Titanol U-turns out into the Latios, and Latios is in safely. Latios is in here. It is very possible that he clicked his Dragon Stab here. Tapu Lele may be coming in, and depending if this is a choice like I said, it may suggest whether Colin may opt to lock himself into a Dragon move or Ghost move, or whether he does have the ability to switch his move here and play around the potentially choice-locked Tapu Lele. As Ampharos looks to be his only real soft check to Tapu Koko, I do not anticipate Pako to really risk it here, and I do expect a switch, potentially to the Miltank, potentially to the Tapu Lele. He does switch to use Tapu Lele. Latios goes for a Psychic, does big damage to the Psychic Terrain despite Tapu Lele resisting the move. Latios here is very likely probably going to switch out. This Lele has revealed to likely be Scarf, and I think it is very free for Colin here to go back into his Type Null or his Drapion. And Latios reveals the Life Orb, goes for a Protect to scout what Tapu Lele is going to lock itself into. As Tapu Lele potentially locks himself into the Focus Velocity, but we see, I was expecting possibly a Dragon move coming in here as Pako goes into his Tornadus, goes for another Psychic, does a big hefty chunk, the Life Orb Latios does Electric Terrain against the Tornadus. Latios is not a Scarf set, so Tornadus will outspeed here, maybe potentially going for U-turn to get us some chip, going for a Flying Stab move, or a knockoff. Either way, I think it is free for Colin to go into his Tapu Koko here to regain some momentum, or back to his Type Null to easily tank a hit. Pako pulls a double into his Alakazam, as Latios opts to go for a Protect to Scout. Dan stays in, traces the Levitate, and will likely go for maybe a Shadow Ball or a Signal Beam here. We'll see as Latios stays in. Goes for a Carmine. Latios goes for a Draco. This is a big turn here. The Alakazam, predicting a switch out, has gone for the Carmine and has copped a very strong Life Orb Draco Meteor, which is down over 57%. It'd be interesting to see here. I think the Alakazam will live a second hit here from the Latios, and will potentially get a kill here depending on what coverage it has. However, I do think it is free for his Drapion to come in here and potentially Pursuit Trap it or Revenge. So I do potentially see Colin just going in for trying to go for a safe switch into his Drapion here, which is a very strong counter to Mega Alakazam. Indeed, he does go into his Drapion. Zam goes for a barrier, increasing to +2 defense, likely trying to counter against whatever this Drapion is looking to hit it with. I'm still interested to see what moves Alakazam could be packing here to try and damage this Drapion. And with the damage it's taken from the Draco Meteor, I doubt whether it could live 2 hits from Drapion regardless. I'm very curious to see what Pako looks to do here. I think he will stay in, trying to live a potential knockoff or a pursuit, try and get some damage against this Drapion. However, in my opinion, it's in his best interest to maybe even switch out here. Overall, Pako's not in a great position. His Zam's been worn down, his Lele's being worn down, and overall, mons like Pako and Latios look to still have a really good chance in this game. But we'll see what happens here. He goes for recovery, packs the recovery move, as Drapion goes for a knockoff, and only does 27% after the barrier. I take my comments back. Zam can potentially use some hits, but having shown Carmine, Barrier, and Recover, if his only move here is a Psychic move, Drapion will wall this all day, and potentially stall it out of Recovers. So I think, again, it's in best interest for Colin to switch out here. If he is packing only the Psychic move, as Drapion will sit here all day, taking hits. Goes for another barrier. Drapion goes here. Potentially a crit may happen as well, and what is Alakazam packing for this Drapion? Goes for another Carmine. Carmines continue to be set up. Perhaps he's looking to stall out knockoffs here, forcing Drapion into struggle range. But we'll continue to see what happens. I think this is in Pako's current play. Just trying to stall out the knockoffs from Drapion. But as we see here, the crit is inevitably lands, and then Alakazam goes down. Very unfortunate for Pako here. If he could last through all knockoffs PP, it's potential that Zam just went in and won just there. However, this was a risky move as knockoff 6% chance to crit over 32 turns of PP was possibly going to happen there. Zam goes down, and potentially I could maybe see the Lele. Depends on what damage Lele can do here against this full HP Drapion. Possibly even the Miltank if it can come in here and possibly has Earthquake to get rid of, try and weaken this Drapion. But overall, this is not a good position for Pako right now. Perhaps Tornadus could come in here too, pivot out and regain some health before trying to force out this Drapion. The Miltank does come in. We see Colin switch out here into his Titanol, possibly expecting the Earthquake. His Titanol has served a very good role in this game, as it can still tank some hits from Tapu Lele in this range, and potentially some hits from Tornadus. Again, Pako Latios look in a really good position here. Pako opts to go for his rocks, and goes for a strong return, 18% against Titanol, eats it very well, and pivots out with his U-turn into his Latios. Latios is back in with Life Orb set. Dragon coverage and strong psychic type moves do some good damage against this Miltank. Once this is chipped, other mons will go in. Pako's play here is difficult. If the Lele comes in, Latios will merely protect the Scout the move, which is very hard for him to deal with. I think Miltank stays in here, looking to tank a hit and potentially doing some damage back with return. Latios goes for an Aura Sphere. Miltank eats that with a Chople. Goes for Toxic here, wearing down this Latios alongside the Life Orb and deterring it from going for a Protect here. Goes into his Lele. Lele comfortably choose that Aura Sphere, and with Toxic, Colin is going to be a little deterred here to probably click his Protect. He does opt for Protect anyway, knowing he will live this with 18%. He knows the Lele is locked into Moonblast, and he'll likely sack his Latios here. He may opt to bring in his Drapion here, knowing this is locked into Moonblast, going for a Poison type move or a Dark type move here, or even potentially back into his Titanol, which can safely take that and pivot out into one of his other mons. Goes into his Drapion, knowing he can take a Moonblast, and will likely go for a Dark or a Poison type move here. Goes to the Poison Jab, does 18% to the Miltank. If the Miltank's carrying Miltank here, he can recover back up, and he may want to do so with the Koko, with the Serp still around. He still has problems with the Gallade, but with Taunty and a Scarflayer in the back, if he can keep those healthy, he may be able to check here. Pako does have a little bit of options. If he can get health back on this Miltank, he can do well against some of these other mons. And he may be able to put himself back into a position with that Latios gone if his Torn and Lele can get in, and he can weaken that Tapu Koko. I expect a Miltank here, and I think it's potentially looked to be choice locked earlier, or potentially keep going for a Poison Jab, or he may opt to switch into his Gallade on a potential recovery move here. No, he's not choice locked, he goes for a knockoff. However, he's already revealed his Chople Berry has left. Potentially he was predicting a switch here, and Miltank does get some recovery. Switches into Serp. Miltank goes for a strong return here, doing 37% to the Serp. Serp reveals leftovers. Serp here is in an interesting position. He may opt to go for a Leaf Storm here just to get some chip on this Miltank, but if he predicts this Tornadus coming in to get some health back, perhaps he'll go for a sub, and then looking for shenanigans such as the Glare, the Leap Seed, to go from here to really try and pull apart these last remaining pieces of Pako's team. Pako may opt to go for a return here to keep chipping down the Serp and break that sub, as a Toxic here will be blocked by the sub. The play here really depends on whether Colin here goes for the Leaf Storm or goes for the sub, and what this Miltank opts to do. He goes for a default, removing the rocks, and the Miltank opts to keep itself healthy. Aromatherapy well has cured the status of his other mons, as Miltank goes in and gets a Toxic off on this Serp. Serp goes for Aromatherapy, getting rid of Toxic, as Miltank goes for Returning. I'm very surprised this was not an offensive Serp, as I think this would have done a lot more threat against Pako's team had it been more offensive. But his Aromatherapy has freed up his other mons, have kept them healthy, and he has removed rocks from his side of the field. The game is getting closer. This Miltank is becoming a very big nuisance. Unless the Glade can come in here and remove it, this may be Pako's chance to get back into the game. Goes for the sub here, does reveal it. Stealth rocks go up. Potentially his last move might be the Leaf Storm. Goes for a defog, gets rid of the rocks, as Miltank goes for a return. Alright, Superior goes for one last defog, as Miltank revenges it. This should allow him a free switch into his Gallade, and depending on your set, can hopefully put in some work here. If it is sub, I believe the sub will go up here now, and he'll begin trying to set up and wearing down this team. Instead, he goes into his Tapu Koko. A electric type move is free here. He goes for a taunt to prevent any sort of shenanigans, and he gets hit by a strong return. I am interested if this is a Stall Breaker set actually with the taunt, Nature's Madness, perhaps Roots to keep this healthy, or whether he'll go for Electric Earth here. Goes for Discharge, does not get the Para, and Miltank gets another strong return off this turn. Koko pivots out, wearing down this Miltank without any sort of status move here. The Glade now comes in for free, and Glade will click buttons here. It comes in, goes for the Poison Jab, probably predicting the Lele here to come in on a fighting move, but poisons the Miltank here. Miltank can get off another return or a Milk Drink here if he's clicked it. Goes for a Toxic and has crippled this Glade. This game is getting tighter and tighter each turn. Glade comes in, Poison Jabs again, and the Miltank goes down. Lele, Scarf Set, can come in, however it may get blocked by the Type Null and the Dragon, so I think it's much more likely that the Tornadus will come in here, click a flying type move. If he goes Koko, Koko may not live with 28%, and if it does, it will probably likely be free to go into his Ampharos. I think the Taunt comes in here, and it's in Colin's best interest to possibly pivot out into his Type Null. Taunt comes in, 68%. He lets Gallade go down, which will allow Koko in free here. He does opt to go for the Koko. Naturally outspeeds Tornadus. Kills it with a Discharge here. Pako's hope here. With the Lele quite weak to the Drapion, it's his best interest to go to Ampharos here. Hopefully Ampharos can put in some work against his last remaining piece of his team. I think with Lele being locked into Choice Scarf, the Drapion will kill, and I think the Ampharos with not much recovery will possibly just lose to these two mons. But it's close, and we'll see what happens. Goes into the Ampharos. Opts to go into his Drapion. Goes for a Cotton Guard here. I think his defense, the Ampharos, has some tricks up its sleeve to try and come back in this game. With its +3 defense, it's going to be very resistant to this Drapion. Drapion goes for a knockoff. This looks to be Z. Goes for a counter, however, counter does not do anything. Drapion with a poison jab, hopefully looking to proc up status move. Ampharos with a Thunderbolt in the Electric Train, wearing down the Drapion. This is a wild game. If Ampharos can stay healthy here, it can come in and perhaps clean up if it can get through this type null enough that Lele can revenge the Pako. However, I'm Colin here. I'm not sure if I would sack here. Alright, I'm just going to let it play out. This is a wild game. Goes for a poison jab, gets the crit. Ampharos takes out the Drapion. Will type null come in here? Will the Pako come in here? Pako opts to come in, resetting up the Electric Terrain. What does Pako have for this? He's got the Dazzling Gleam that is able to kill it from here. We know Lele is scarfed here. If the Pako goes down, the Time Null should be able to take some hits and hopefully revenge Lele. I think at this point, this may be game to Colin. Able to kill Let It Last for that Ampharos with his Pako, with the Dazzling Gleam. Pako goes down. The Lele is locked into Psychic. I believe Time Null can take a couple of these and will eventually knock this out. 27%, no Spadef drop, goes for a Shadow Claw, is going to echo. If he can avoid a crit, he will live. 9%, there's the Spadef drop, and the Shadow Claw will finish off the game. Wow, okay. Thoughts on that game? That game was really close. With the Glacial going down so early, I really thought the Pako and the Latios would go really strong in the game. However, Pako, with that Miltank, with that Ampharos, his lower tier picks, that bulk really bothered his mons, like his Drapion, his Latios, his Serp. That Toxic was coming in very clutch at the end there, wearing down mons. Ampharos with its Cotton Guard being able to tank those Drapion hits. However, that crit with the Poison Jab was possibly unfortunate, maybe putting in range of that Dazzling Gleam. But overall, that was a solid game. Colin did keep Type Null and Drapion healthy towards that endgame for that Tapu Lele, and he left his Pako around to potentially revenge that Ampharos. He played his Glade very smart there, using it to wear down that Miltank alongside the taunting of the Pako. And with that, heading into next week, Colin will be 4-1, and Pako has lost his unbeaten record and will also be 4-1. This has been Seafoam Week 5 with Reich. Hope you have a good day.